The following podcast is part of the MindBodySpirit.fm podcast network.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
I can say to my new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, hey, find a keto-friendly restaurant nearby and text it to Beth and Steve. And it does without me lifting a finger. So I can get in more squats anywhere I can. 1, 2, 3.
Will that be cash or credit?
Credit. 4.
Galaxy S25 Ultra, the AI companion that does the heavy lifting so you can do you. Get yours at Samsung.com. Compatible with select apps. Requires Google Gemini account. Results may vary based on input. Check responses for accuracy.
Wholeness means to me being in a state of joy.
Wholeness means feeling complete, owning my authentic gifts.
Wholeness is really connected. Everything is connected to everything.
Wholeness is where we have access to all parts of ourselves.
Krista Humphrey is my beloved niece, one of them. I have loved watching her create businesses and put her ideas and her passion into the world. She is one of the most positive people you'll meet, and I have no doubt that you're going to learn so much from her, if not just feeling great in her presence. If you are a practitioner or a therapist or a coach, we at the Wholeness Network are here to support you this year. And Krista is a great resource. So she helps people dare to be out there in the world, sharing your business, whether that's coaching, she'll do all sorts of things, but it's important as you're building your own business to kind of have somebody that says you're doing a great job, and that's what Krista does. And I invited her on because I wanted her to really read the book, The Creative Act, and see how what she does can be her art. And if she can look at her life in that way, maybe you can too.
The creative process of business for someone who does things in order, which isn't me, it might look like having an idea, then, doing some research, and then coming up with a name, all those things.
Yeah.
I do like splatter paint business.
Yeah.
Where, because I've been doing it for 10 years, this is actually my 10-year business anniversary. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
But I kind of I get an idea, and while I'm working on steps 1 and 2, I'm looking into steps 9 and 10. And then I have to tell myself, okay, I did research there, so now I've got to wait. So now I've got to come over here and finish these steps. But I'm excited about this. Oh, but I got to finish these first. And I just kind of whatever. And I think this is what ties into the creativity artist thing that Rick was talking about, is wherever I get excited, I go and work on that for a little bit. And when I started my first business, Flawed, the lipstick line, I worked on things for half hour a night. That was all I had to give because I was in school full-time, work full-time. And that's all I had to give was okay, I'm going to get my notebook and I'm going to work on things for 30 minutes. And I kind of did more of that where it was step by step. But now it's kind of splatter paint, like I said.
Hey, and that's why it's an art. That's why when I recommended this book to you, that's what I wanted you to get out of it, is it's if you think about it as art, then of course it would be different for everybody. Of course it would show up differently. And I think sometimes for business, it's so easy. I mean, I feel it too, where it's you got to do this and you've got to do this and you've got to do this. And it was just helpful for me to say, okay, got to, because guess what? As soon as somebody tells me I have to, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. I have that in me where it's just watch me. I got a little bit of that in me. And so
Exactly, me too. Yeah. Yeah.
so if I can think of it as my art, then I just feel like I have a little more autonomy over how I go about things. So
So smart. That was such an eye-opening thing. When you first told it to me when we were on a call, and then as I was like listening to the book, is and maybe we'll get into this later, but something that really stood out to me that like rocked my Enneagram 3 world was
right?
like it's not about the end product. And I was like, wait, what? Like
Yeah.
like it is the end product, but it's not. It's the process
It's the
of
process.
creating. And that was really, really interesting and kind of important, I think, to learn and to remember as we're in these because man, there is roadblock after speed bump after
Yeah.
roadblock when you're starting a business, doing a business, and um to kind of work through that before I knew this method, I would just be like, I'm a problem solver. I'm not a business owner. I'm a problem solver. All these problems come up and then I try to solve them. But now it's like, oh my gosh, like it is part of the process and part of the beauty of creation is, working through those challenges and learning through those speed bumps and all of those things.
Yeah, totally, totally. So I looked up this word because because I looked up the word entrepreneur, because that's what you are. Like you could put that on your business card, like I am an entrepreneur. And so that word, it originates from a 13th century French word, but it means to undertake or to do something. And I thought the same thing. To me, it's like, we think of this word of creator as this big, huge word, or entrepreneur as this big, huge word. And it helps me sometimes to look at them. And there's so much, like, because something to undertake or to do something, that kind of broadens that, then I can allow myself to be that word, entrepreneur or creator, things like that. But I wondered if how do you feel about being an entrepreneur? What is that like? Can you take that? Can you hold it?
Yeah, sometimes I always associate that word with one of my professors in college. I was really lucky. I got to actually take an entrepreneurship
Oh,
class,
cool.
focus in it,
Yeah.
or as one of my focuses. But he would always say entrepreneur, and
Mhm.
it just like, and so when I hear that, I just kind of like, that's not a real word, like entrepreneur,
Entrepreneur. Yeah, yeah.
but no, so that's like the
That's
giggly silly
funny.
part of me,
I love it.
but I love like the term um like founder and like
Mm-hmm.
um because I love the visual of like discovering and like
Hmm.
I I love entrepreneurs because they see a problem in the world and they
Hmm.
want to solve it. And that I
Hmm.
love people of action. So
Hmm.
that to me like resonates
Hmm.
personally more is like I'm going to, take this issue that I'm seeing with the world and I'm
Hmm.
going to try to fix it. And it to me that is like what entrepreneurship is about, is solving
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah, that makes my heart feel good. That's true. It's true. That's so sweet. Okay, I want to read you a quote from the book.
Okay. Okay.
It says, "Those who do not engage in traditional art might be wary of calling themselves artists. They may perceive creativity as something extraordinary or beyond their capabilities, a calling for a special few who are born with these gifts. Fortunately, this is not the case. Creativity is not a rare ability. It is not difficult to access. Creativity is a fundamental aspect of being human. It is our birthright, and it is for all of us. Creativity doesn't exclusively relate to making art. We all engage in this act on a daily basis." Okay, so this is kind of what we've been talking about at this point, and that's what I really kind of want to focus on for a few minutes. Is like your thoughts about that, how that's kind of, changed, how can you, you're such a good cheerleader. How do you cheerleader people up into really accepting their art, really, and whatever that is?
Yeah. Oh, wow. So I remember that quote. It's so cool to think about everyone as a creator and
Hmm.
as, you know, and not just, you know, making a sculpture or doing a
Hmm.
painting, like as an artist.
Yeah.
Um, and I think like when it comes to like cheering other people on and like to me there's just so much power and so much wonder and amazement in like seeing how people are their own artists and like for me like there's no other choice but to cheer people on because it's so incredible what these people are doing, you know, like
Yeah.
it's like I have a friend who's a great painter and I have a friend who is a actress and like all of these things and it's like and those are typical like art things but like other things like amazing at business and marketing and things like that and it's just awesome. I love
Yeah.
people's brains. Like people are so talented and we need them and the world needs them. And I just freaking love seeing people doing what they like
You
and
know,
what they're good at.
I was doing a class once and I was doing a kind of a presentation with it. And I wish I had this, maybe I'll put it in the video, but it was like, if like every person, if you could really understand, and I didn't have these words from this book, but it was like I really did want people to understand themselves as creators and I gave this really kind of explanation as I was like, look, if every choice you made or every move you made was like maybe like you took up a piece of paper and a color went on there, and let's say that some of those colors were quote wrong, and it turned into like no color or black, so they're white or black. It's like if you saw that on a screen, it's like the white and the black just accentuates the color. Do you know what I mean? It really is beautiful, even if, your every step you take, everything you do is more beautiful than you can comprehend and think. And I think that's kind of how I think, and so if you think of yourself as a creator that way and that, you know, because an artist even, so many of the paintings they found, like in someone's like attic or something, they have found a painting underneath it. It's like people have painted over paintings because it was like, oh, I didn't like that so much. You know what I mean? So it's like if we can think of our own lives that way too, as more of like, okay, I'm going to paint something today, or and like, what does that look like? Do I like it or not? And if I do, great. If I don't, let's try again. Let's try again.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love that so much. And to relate it to kind of what I do, I used to have so much shame for starting all these different businesses because I've gotten a few comments, but one comment that stood out was like, they said something like, geez, Krista, are you gonna pick a lane? Like something like,
Right.
and I'm so ashamed of that because I felt like, oh my gosh, like I started a lipstick line 10 years ago and I've started like 4 or 5 other things in that time, but I just really follow my passions and I really follow the problems. And I am so proud to say that I do that. I am creative through business. That is how I'm creative. And like it doesn't matter what other people think because I'm making money on stuff I like,
Right.
Like, who
Right.
cares?
Yeah, totally.
They can think whatever they want.
Right. Let's talk about your businesses. So your first business was Flawed. Is that right? That was your first business.
So my first like official business. So this was 10 years ago. This was before the wave of businesses. This was like nobody, I was 21, 22. And nobody in my age group, anything had like started a business. And so I really had to do things by myself and figure it out. And I made a lot of mistakes and still do and learn. But anyway, so I started Flawed.
And what was the motivation behind that? Tell me the motivation behind that business. What was the problem that you're trying to solve?
The problem was one of my I was a makeup artist at the time. And I was hearing a lot of negative discourse about women who were into makeup were vain. They were stuck up. They were mean. Like, I can't believe you have such low self-esteem that you're into makeup. Like things like that. My friend's brother was worried about me because I was a makeup artist, and so I was just like, oh my goodness, I wish you could see how this is A, an art. This is an art form. And B, like putting on makeup doesn't make you not
Right. Makeup is
a
benign.
good person. Yeah, it has no value.
There's
Like
no charge. Yeah.
no charge. Yeah. So anyway, so I was like thinking of I want to remind the world and I want to remind women or whoever would use it that when they're using this product, it's more about, how it makes them feel than what others think about them when they're wearing it. And so I had 3 colors, mighty, brave, and strong. And they came with like little descriptions and little quotes to remind them to be mighty, brave, and strong. It was like Alex and Ani, but lipstick.
Yep.
And so that was really the motivation there is to like, wait a second, this is just lipstick, like just
Yeah. But it wasn't just lipstick. It was the best lipstick. It stayed on and it had full color. Like that was hard. I mean, I know you had a lot of work to do in the like the making up of that lipstick. It wasn't like you just grabbed whatever. Like you experimented.
There really wasn't like
you didn't just put your name on something that was already made.
It wasn't white label. Yeah.
No.
It was developed and
yeah.
In fact, one company that I was going to go with threatened to sue me if I went to a different company. And like, it was just this whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my first business.
Yeah.
And then I did a financial budgeting business. I created like a budget binder. I help people budget their money and make goals and stuff. And the problem that I saw there was that the finance world was boring and dull. And so I started the Budget Thug.
I love it.
Kind of like make it more approachable and cool and edgy and not just, stuffy and old. So I think that was like 8 years ago. So,
ooh, do you still have that? Do you still have that?
Do I still have, I have the binder.
Yeah, you do. We should we should sell it on the network.
Okay.
Get it on the store.
I'll
get the PDF. Like we'll just get the PDF and
I'll update. I think it still says like 2017, 2018.
Yeah. But I love how it's true. Especially like it kind of moved on from the thing. It's like girls care about how things are. They want things cute and pretty sometimes. And it's like, why not a budget?
Yes.
Why not a budget?
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just lots of in between. And then my longest venture that I just sold pieces of last year was Zip Zap Gifts. It was a software for employers to send their employees gifts automatically. So send this, crumble cookies to all of my employees on their birthday. And it would just kind of like automate that. And it had a horrible ending, but it was a really fun ride during it. And I learned so much, how to build an app, how to run a team, like how to do marketing, how to pitch yourselves at a trade show. Like I learned so much and reflecting, especially while reading this book, I was like, man, that was awesome, because sometimes, and I talked to my business mentor about this too. I'm trying to tell 2 stories at once. Let me slow down a little bit. So,
we must be related.
Yeah. Literally, the Butterfield brain. So, I always think about Zip Zap as kind of a failure because there was, I ended up having to close it down after I was postpartum. My co-founder completely ghosted me and left me in the dust and was my technical founder. And so I could not do anything without her. She was the app, just so overwhelming when I was 3 weeks postpartum. And so I just ended up selling it for parts. I'll sell you this part of it. I'll sell you my email list. I'll sell you this,
Wow.
different things. But that I learned so much and it was so fun. It was so fun. And for a little bit, like I was I've been a tech founder. Like that's
Yeah.
cool, you know, like
Yeah.
it's just like a cool little part of my story. And my business mentor, I was bringing this up with her one day. I was like, how do I get past the failure? Like, how do I get past that? And she goes like, you, who cares? Like, who
Right.
literally every business owner fails like every day. Like, just do something else.
Right.
And I was like,
Right.
oh,
Oh,
is it that simple? Like,
yeah. I can just let it go. Like nobody has to
yes,
like give me permission to say it's all right. I can
yeah,
just
it's
do that. Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
I
And now like flash forward, like I'm making more money, I'm having more fun, I'm able to help coach people in business, which is my favorite topic, you know, and I
hmm
wasn't able to do that with Zip Zap.
Yeah.
Um, and so it just turns out everything
Yeah.
worked out. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it worked
Yeah.
out for the
Right. I mean, and those sometimes those hard things are the things, oh, I wish it wasn't true, but sometimes those hard things are the things that they are one of the best teachers. That's why
yeah.
it's like wrong. I don't know how to say that. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't a wrong
Yeah,
choice. It was like, but when we tie the result to it, that's the thing. Maybe we don't need to tie a result to it for it to be
exactly.
beautiful. This art should be beautiful.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that. Which is really hard for me, honestly.
Right, right, right. It's hard for all of us. That's why we call it a practice. That's why
Yes.
you practice at
There
it.
we go.
You practice.
Love it.
Okay, so in the book, I thought it was interesting. He talked about the sources of creativity. So I wondered if we could kind of go through these and think about, because you've got clients that you work with and you've had your own business yourself. And so how could this look for business? For people because I think there's people like you that they wouldn't think of themselves as them as a creator in their business, whatever their business is. But okay, so he says these are the sources of creativity. He says we begin with everything, everything seen. So just so start. I mean, so if we just start there. So I think in your life, yeah, you saw, like you even brought this up already. You've seen the issues, and then that's one of the inspirations for creativity. One of the sources of creativity is everything seen, everything done. How would you define, what would you say about everything done, that being one of your sources of creation? I think these are kind of just, and he's very abstract in his book, so you have to kind of like go through the the
Yeah.
symbolism of it. But how is everything done? How can that be a source for our creativity?
Okay, so that's a great point and thing to bring up, but bringing in his other principles that it's not about the done, it's
Yeah, yeah.
about like,
You're
the
right.
journey, right?
Yep.
So for me, like having a I don't know what the word I'm searching for, having the feeling of accomplishment
Mm-hmm.
is super important
Mm-hmm.
in every day
Yep.
instead of the end goal.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
like if you never celebrate any win or you never take time to be grateful or to um, pat yourself on the back for the little things, then like when you get to the end and if it didn't work out how you wanted, that's
Mm-hmm.
gonna feel like a waste, you know?
Yeah.
And so I'd say like taking the business tasks
Mm-hmm.
and um, taking time to celebrate the small wins
Yeah.
and really use those to feed your fire as you
Mm-hmm.
continue.
I love it. I love it. What about the idea of everything thought? How is that a source of our creativity? Everything thought, you know, because yeah, I'm gonna let you answer actually.
I think the next one is gonna come in line with this answer, but lots of people, maybe everyone, maybe
hmm
dare I say,
Yeah.
has a business idea,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yep.
say like,
Yep.
oh, we should do that. 10, 5, 2.2, I'm not sure, but not a lot of people turn that thought into doing.
hmm
And what's
Right.
amazing is that it's the thought that starts it, and
hmm
like the ambition to change and the ambition to figure out the problem that's at hand and
hmm
actually like put effort towards fixing it. That's why I love entrepreneurs, is because it's like we're the ones that are freaking trying to do something about it, you know?
Right. We take the next step.
So,
We take the
yes,
next
yes,
step. Yeah.
next step. I
Yep.
think everyone who starts a business is awesome and brave. And like,
Yep.
I think that sometimes sorry, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I think that there's sometimes like a negative, like, oh, they're starting a business, like
Yeah.
good luck, you know,
Yep.
like
Yep. Totally.
like
It's really
they're
vulnerable.
yes, and it's like puts you to be judged out in the world, right?
It does.
But that's so much braver than them. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much, like it's so much more contribution to the world and to themselves. That is something huge that I've really come to know myself through these businesses and figure out what's important to me. Which I think is really important in developing a self-concept.
Totally. Totally. I know. And that's your your art. I mean, I just can't get over it. I can't get over it. Okay. I can't stop thinking about how great it is to think about it in business because it, especially for a woman in business, because it just has a different feel sometimes, which is the
We
next thing. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying we are creators,
Literally, yeah.
and so it's wonderful to be able to create in multiple ways.
Right, 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 right. All right, another thing, the source of creativity is everything felt and imagined. And I just thought that was, I think it's timed, because here's the thing, the truth, and I think it comes up later in a quote, but it's like to be an artist really is it's really like when you're creating something, it is nothing until it comes to fruition. It's more just what's inside. It's what's felt. It's that imagination. It's that thought. Um, and then it's bringing that out into the world. And I just want to, I hope in this interview especially is that people can just begin to think of themselves, especially our business owners and business beginners and entrepreneurs, like, that's art. But allow that to be art, and
Yeah.
and like you say, it's a big deal to put that out there. And so pat yourself on the back. Do what you got to do with that practice so that those gremlins don't take over, because they do. They
Yes,
do.
totally.
They
And
do.
just like something I've been thinking about is you know, sometimes you'd think of like being creative in the aspects of like painting, sculpture, or something. And so instead of saying the negative, I'm not creative, I'm creative through business, or I'm creative through numbers, or like something like
Right.
that, where like we all have these strengths that allow us to create, and I think that's super important to focus on the positive instead of saying I'm not this, I'm not that.
Right. You're right. I know. We are the worst at that. We are our
Yes.
worst. Yeah. Okay, here's
We have
another
room for
quote.
improvement for sure.
Yeah, right, right. Okay. Well, I think sometimes we feel like we're supposed to be on like we're rude if we bump ourselves up, or we're showing off if we we call it bragging instead of just being, proud of who we are. But the thing is if someone else is proud in who they are without, an over under relationship with the other person, it's really inspiring. Like you don't have to be better than someone else to be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Those two things don't need to happen at the same time. So, but
Right.
if everybody owned their greatness, then it's like, I just think the world would be so much better, and I get that it's hard, but let's do it together then. Let's do it together.
Yes.
So, okay, here's another quote about interconnectedness. It says, all living things are interconnected, depending on one another to survive. A work of art is no different. It generates excitement in you. This commands your attention, and your attention is exactly what's required for it to grow. The creator and the creation rely on each other to thrive. The call of the artist is to follow the excitement, like you said before. Where there's excitement, there's energy, and where there is energy, there is light. And there's two things in that I just think are to understand. I like the interconnected part because again, you as a business, you can't just be by yourself. You have to be in relationship with people for your business to be successful. So that is something to understand and to like really, like when you go into these businesses trying to solve a problem for people, that's interconnected. That's really special. That's like I don't know, that's something that I think is, it benefits the world, differently than maybe other kinds of art, maybe. But the second is that, this, the creator and the creation rely on each other to thrive. I thought that was really interesting. And like
Sounds
you
really
talked about
cool.
before, you've got to that you know, and I feel like there was a little bit, even a bit of judgment of you. We're like, I went here, went here, I go here and here. And yet that's exactly what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to follow the
Yeah.
excitement. And I
Mm.
hope that gives you and all of us that, you know, because I hear that a lot. I have a lot of clients. They really, really judge themselves about being scattered or whatever. And do I have this or what do I have that? And I'm like, what if we just let it be okay? You know what I mean? Does the job get done? Okay, you know, does the things move forward? Yes. And so it doesn't matter if it needs to fall into a certain line. Follow the excitement and the energy. And I think you've done that. And so difficult, you know, with that other business ending, your Zip Zap Gifts ending, was it difficult to start a new one, or were you just kind of like excited to start something new? Or did it take a
Oh my
minute?
goodness. So I wanted something new the second
Mm,
that I realized that it wasn't going to work out, but I was freshly postpartum.
hmm
I had pretty severe postpartum anxiety and depression for a year. And
hmm
so it took, so let's see. So I had my baby in February, beginning of
hmm
February, and then I started this bang agency in November. So it
hmm
was about 10 months,
hmm
maybe 9, 10 months of like Michelle racking my brain. I was trying to figure out like what I was
hmm
going to do next. I tried I was gonna pick up dog poop, you know? I was gonna start a dog poop business. Like I wanted to just like I just, I need a business and
Yeah.
a purpose like this to feel alive. Like that is
hmm
it feels like part of my, soul's calling is
Yep.
to work on a business and to
hmm
create that way. And so it was really hard, and I want to cry about it actually.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
really hard to not have one and
Mm.
to be a new mother going through these things and
hmm
thinking like, wait, I'm supposed to be all the way fulfilled by being a mother. I've been waiting
hmm
for this for years. Why am I
hmm
not fulfilled up to here, And
Right. That would
and
be so hard. Yeah.
part of that was postpartum anxiety, and
Yeah.
depression that way. But I think the majority of it was that, I want to focus on my relationship with my daughter. I want to make sure that it is wonderful. And I want to also show her that we can be two things.
hmm
We have lots of different intricate parts of our personalities and our life goals. And the best way to fill my cup is to have something that I'm working on so that I can
hmm
give my best to my daughter when it's my turn to be the primary parent.
Yep.
You know, um,
hmm
my husband and I, we switch off all day, every day. Okay, he works at this time to this time, then I work from this time to this time, and we switch being the primary parent. And it's working really well for us. I feel like we're both filling
hmm
um, that call and
hmm
it's been really good. We just had to figure it out.
Yeah, I'm really, I've always been impressed with you, but I'm extra impressed with you that you allowed yourself that peace because it would be really easy to shove that down and pretend like being the mother is the fulfilling thing. Do you know what I mean? Like we can fake that really
I
well.
tried, yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to
And
fail, yeah.
and for some that they can, you know what I mean? But what do you do when it's just showing up differently? And I feel like we could give each other a lot more grace about the different ways we show up as parents and moms, especially, it's
Yeah.
different for everybody. And
Yeah.
there's enough room for everybody to have a totally different way of being. We don't we don't
Yeah.
we
You don't
don't
have to be the same.
we don't
Yeah.
have to be the same. And and I think, that would be really helpful for, I think you're just such a, a like a trailblazer because I think whether, it's a piece that for a little mom to think, I hope there's one listening that says maybe that idea is in my head. Maybe I am going to see what it takes to put that into the world. And you can do it. It's not that hard to start a
Yeah.
business. It's
Yeah.
not that
No, you can
hard.
totally do it.
And people, like, if you do it wrong, like when they, like signing up for all the like LLCs and all that stuff, they help you. Like someone helps you.
Yeah, someone
They
helps
don't
you.
just say, hey, we're taking you to jail. You didn't do it right. But that's kind of how it feels.
Exactly. That's how it feels. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not that way.
It's not that way. One of my clients that I'm working with, she has this quote that she says, she's like, relax, it's just chaos. Like it's just like
You're right.
It's just
yeah, that's right.
Fine. Like
yeah, nothing's wrong. This is normal. Chaos is the normal. That's right.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Uh-oh. The last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
I was never really a runner. The way I see running is a gift, especially when you have stage 4 cancer. I'm Anne. I'm running the Boston Marathon, presented by Bank of America. I run for Dana-Farber Cancer Institute to give people like me a chance to thrive in life, even with cancer.
Join Bank of America in helping Anne's cause. Give if you can at BofA.com/supportAnne. What would you like the power to do? References to charitable organizations is not an endorsement by Bank of America Corporation. Copyright 2025.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
So because you've started a new business and and they've been very different. They've been very different businesses. And you know, we're at the Wholeness Network, we, you know, a part of our business is helping practitioners, coaches, therapists kind of expand their business online. And I would just want to ask you, what advice would you have, since you know, with all your, because you have schooling too. You're not just making it up. You've had schooling, you've had experience. So you're like,
yeah, I'd say the experience,
the queen,
where I learned
better.
most.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
Although my education was good too.
Yeah.
Okay, repeat the last part of that.
So how would you, you know, what advice would you have for them? You know, because, you know, I know you know what some of their what their roadblocks are, you know, or the things that get in their way. And so what would you tell me what you think their roadblocks are? I know you know. And then the answer to those.
Well, that's so great. And I'm actually helping some clients build a business incubator where you go through. So here's the pitfalls that we've seen. So, you know, first, most new entrepreneurs get hung up that their stuff isn't perfect. Their logo isn't perfect. Their social media isn't perfect. Their website isn't perfect. They don't have, you know, this many followers on Instagram. So they're not going to show up because they don't have the followers that they want, or they're not going to put their website out there and start making money because it's not perfect yet. So I feel like that is the best advice. And my awesome clients say this, done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
So just throw up a website. If it looks like it's from 2005, who cares?
Right.
People are going to want to work with you if it's available. You know, you can work with you if it's not.
And there's no such thing as perfect. Our website gets tweaked all the time. Like you just tweak it and tweak it and tweak it. Like it's like there's so much you can do.
My website is.
Yeah. You know? So it's like it'll never be. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
It will never be done.
Perfect.
Because you'll find out new ways that you're like, oh my gosh, why don't we say this instead of that? Like, and that's part of the fun. That's part of the creativity, is to see how it changes. So if you can move into that creativity, artist mentality about perfection, you're going to be better for it, and so is your business. Yeah, I love it.
Absolutely. I think, let's see, the second advice that I would give, especially this comes from, many mistakes that I've made over the last, 10 years. But one of them is do it yourself until you can't.
I love it.
I feel like sometimes people will be like, oh, I need to hire this, I need to hire this, I need to hire this. And you know what? If you're not making money,
right,
like we need to focus on you doing it, and you're gonna fail, and it's gonna be okay. Like you're gonna get Google, you're gonna get ChatGPT, and you're gonna figure it out.
Yep.
ChatGPT is great for stuff like that.
I love that.
Wait. One thing of advice before that. So just rearrange it in your brain. Start making money right away. Like don't you can build a portfolio if you need to offer free services or something to build a portfolio. Do that to an extent, but your time and all of the experiences that have equaled up to who you are in that moment in this time, especially if you're a service business, you can get paid for.
Yeah.
And the thing I see for people is they'll offer free sessions for years and years and years because they just feel like they are there, and then they're either in debt or they've spent this money that they need to go forward to. So whatever you need to do, like figure out how to make some money from it. And if you don't know how, I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
Like we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I did that in ZipZap a lot, where I was using my full-time income to fund the business, to pay for other people, all of this time, and because I was hiring so many people, I hired so many people. It was so dumb. Because I felt like, oh, well, I'm a tech company, so I need to do, this. It's all for show. And that's one of my biggest like warning signs is, get with Google and figure it out.
Yeah, that's really helpful for me. It's true. I agree. In fact, this would be a good place to talk about what your latest business is. We never talked about your latest business.
Okay, so this is exciting because I'm adding a new piece.
Ooh, nice.
So I run an influencer management company. And so if you think of a celebrity, they have an agent that helps them. I'm kind of like an agent for influencers. And I help them run their businesses and I help them make money. So I help them with brand deals. I help them with sponsorships. I help them with affiliates. I help them create products. Because affiliates are kind of dying out a little bit. People are on the internet are getting a little sick of, use my code, whatever. Anyway,
Gotcha.
So I help them create their own products so that they can earn money in multiple ways. And I'm super passionate about teaching multiple ways to make money. You've got your hourly, you exchange your time for an hourly. You've got your flexible, where it's like, okay, I'll do this session for you for this amount of money. It's not like an hourly thing. And then the third is passive, and helping people to set up systems to earn a little bit of passive income, even if at first when I started my business, it was like, oh, I earned $6 in passive income this month, like it was like, wow, nothing. But, it'll build, and it's still small right now, but I believe it'll continue to build, and eventually it will be a little engine of itself, but that's what I do. I'm currently taking everything that I've learned and putting it into PDF courses, and I'm selling those on my website. So it's called How to Biz. And it's how to set up your email marketing, how to do this. And people can buy short little courses. I wanted it to be accessible. So I have it all together, but also like in separate chapter PDFs. So that it can be accessible. You're like, I have, $25 to spend. You can pick a $25 thing. But anyway,
Nice.
and then that goes with a sassy CEO merch line that I'm starting. So it's like just a fun, a uniform per se for our entrepreneurial ventures.
I love it. I love it. So you're kind of like, I think you're kind of like a cheerleader for people that are putting themselves out there.
Heck yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, exactly.
Because we talk about we talk about this when we have our little business meetings. It's like, are we influencers? Like that's not our goal, is to be our influencer, but we kind of have to play a little bit of that role in social media and how, and to be honest, how uncomfortable that feels and yet how necessary it feels. And so it would be so nice to have somebody just say, this is what we're doing. And then we're not even gonna really deal with that, because this is just our business, and that's just the name of business these days, is putting yourself out there.
Yes, unfortunately.
It's scary and it's hard. I mean, people think, oh, you're fine. I'm like, oh yeah, I have to, there's a lot of time I have to spend alone. I have to be alone to, I'm an introvert. People don't believe that. I'm like,
recharge.
Gotta recharge. So it's not easy to put myself out there, but that calling or that like desire to do that, help what I feel like will, I want to help the world. That pushes me forward, which is a good thing,
I love that. Yeah, that is so awesome.
Yeah, it's a good thing. But okay, so I think it's fair to say that starting kind of is the hardest part, right? Don't you think, like starting the business, moving forward from the thought is probably kind of the hardest part. And you've overcome that several times. Oh, you do? Good. And I really hope you cherish that love about yourself, because that's a gift that other people, they might have to manual that. That might be something that they really want to do. And the quote I thought in the book was really good about beginnings. He says, when beginning a new project, we're often met with anxiety. So everyone right there, guess what? You think you're the only one? No, everyone. Even like all these people that he was, music director, or, help their music. Very successful people. He said they're all met with anxiety. It visits almost all of us, no matter how experienced, successful, or well prepared we might be. There is an excitement for the possibility something great may be realized, and a dread it might not. And the result is out of our control.
Yeah.
He goes on to say, this isn't a matter of blind belief in yourself when you move forward at this time. It's a matter of experimental faith. I loved this. Your work, not as an evangelist expecting miracles, but as a scientist testing and adjusting and testing again, experimenting and building on the results. Faith is rewarded, perhaps even more than talent or ability. After all, how can we offer the art what it needs without blind trust? We are required to believe in something that doesn't exist in order to allow it to come into being. And I think that's true. I mean, it has to be, I think number one, I love that it's like, what, most all of us have this anxiety. This is just human beings, right? And two, and the reason why that is anxious, because it may go somewhere and it might not. And that unknown is scary. But we have to kind of accept the fact that result is out of our control. Like, you know what I mean? That it's not about that result. Like you said at the beginning, it's about that journey. And that really is about, I remember I talked about this in the previous episode about this, but we talk about, like, I remember there was an interview with Billie Eilish, and she had David Letterman in her, like, where her and her brother would record most of their songs, and they had tons of keyboards on, different keyboards they would use. It was so cool. And she was showing, like the editing thing. You've edited your podcast, you have an editing software, and you can see the, like, you see the cuts, you can see where the things were cut. And he said, she was explaining to him, see all these cuts? This is because I made a mistake. This song, I didn't just sing this song all the way through. We sung it to here. There was a mistake. We started again. That one lasted a little better. We arranged this music more than, and I think if we can kind of understand that's the way things are done. We always make everyone else, like, we think they're special and like that they're so gifted and they're so perfect. And it's like, no, they're doing this experimental thing too. They're they're testing and adjusting and testing again, just like we are. And so if you're doing that, it might appear that other people just are magically going where they need to go, but that's not the case. And I love that idea of like this idea that faith is rewarded perhaps even more than talent or ability, right? Like,
Sure.
yeah, like people are more alike than different. If you have this idea, it probably resonates with more people than you think because we are connected. We're a lot alike.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I love that. So, okay, this one I thought was something I really wanted really wanted to kind of hash this out with you. I don't have an answer. You don't have an answer. What could this mean, right? This is a quote. Anything that allows the audience to access how you see the world is accurate, even if the information is wrong. How is that? How do we feel about that? What does that say to you? And I'll say for me, like, what I get from that sentence is just you showing a little bit of who you are is the art. You are the art. You're not just the artist. And so your perspective on the way something looks or the way something is a beautiful piece of art. Just that. Do you know what I mean? It's not about getting it right necessarily. I just think what a world it would be if we could just believe that about ourselves. It's like I'm not trying to convince somebody to think like me. That's not the point of art. I'm not trying to get everybody to like it because you don't. We spent time in Chicago last fall, and we got to go to the Chicago Museum, and it's a huge museum with all sorts of things. And there were things that really blew me away that I wasn't sure I was surprised by, and there was things that I was like, I don't even get it. Like I do not get this art.
Yes.
But if somebody said, I didn't ever feel like this shouldn't be here. You know what I mean? It was just more like, then there was other people that were staring at those paintings that I didn't understand with like awe and wonder.
Yeah.
And so, there's no, when you call it art, there is no right or wrong art necessarily. And anyway, I'll read that quote again and just see what your thoughts are. Anything that allows the audience to access how you see the world is accurate, even if the information is wrong.
I love that. And I loved the painting comparison because there is some stuff that I'm seeing that I'm like, I do not get art. Like, I do not understand.
Yes.
And then some people are moved by it.
Right.
And it takes all kinds. And
right.
so I'm grateful that we don't all like the same thing.
Totally.
Like, that would be
boring. That would be boring.
That would be boring. And I think, can you read one more time? There was a little part that I wanted to,
yeah. Anything that allows the audience to access how you see the world is accurate, even if the information is wrong. I think that's just a bold quote, right? That's a bold thing to say.
Yeah, it's so bold. And I think there's something to be said with that quote about empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and stepping and maybe talking about reflecting on other people's.
Right. It's only a problem when it's a comparison, when it's like, this is better and this is worse.
Exactly.
That's where the struggle comes in. And I think that's what he's saying. He's saying that, your perspective is the important thing. Yes. Because I think that's where, especially in our world today, we get into struggle. But it's like, people are seeing things from their perspective. They have things in their past that have led them to this point of view.
It doesn't matter your point of view. Yeah,
right. It doesn't, and we get into trouble because we think mine's right and yours is wrong, or mine's better and yours is lesser. We don't need to have that conversation. That doesn't need to be tied in with a perspective,
I love that.
with the way you see the world. So I just like that because I mean that's kind of a controversial thing to say, that's not gonna. But I thought, I just wanted to riff on that because I think it's more true than we kind of think it is. If we get into, if we kind of get into more the expanded thought and view, it's like, okay, I get what you're saying, like the information,
and who decides things are wrong?
Right.
I get like in certain aspects.
Right. It's not right to hurt somebody. Like it's not right.
Or like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like, the sky is baby blue, not cobalt.
Right.
You know, like it's just like, who cares? You know?
Right. We kind of lean more on that than maybe we should. Yes, there's right and there's wrong in certain cases, but I feel like
need to work on that. I think that's a good
but even the whole, like, I even thought it went through my head is like, we're not supposed to hurt someone, but I had a son in the military. He was trained to hurt people. So is that right? Is that wrong? Do you know what I mean? Like things get very complex.
Sometimes I think about it and it's like everything is in gray.
It totally is. It totally is. Yeah, and that's why we just have to have grace for some person's point of view, because I mean, if you didn't have a kid it really affected me to have one of my kids go and train in the military. Like it really kind of played with those parts of some right and wrong. It's like all of a sudden that moved into gray, and it was good for me, but doesn't mean it wasn't like, a little just uncomfortable at times. It was a little, a little stretching. That's really good. All right. Our final question we always ask all of our people is this idea about wholeness, because wholeness is one of those obscure words that everybody has a definition of and or not. But when we ask you what about the idea of wholeness, the word wholeness, what comes to mind?
Oh, I love this question. I was waiting for it. But so I was thinking about this a lot, and I was thinking about how, people always ask things like, how are you doing? And they want to hear, I'm doing good. And then you move on, and it's like the kind of superficial, like, are you happy? Okay, good. I'm glad you're happy. Or if you're not happy, you kind of pretend to be, or, things like that. And to me, like wholeness and feeling whole is like deeper than feeling happy. It's like, it's I think that's the right word. It's deeper. It's like more important than feeling happy, and to me, like the wholeness is where it's kind of transcended happiness, where it's like you kind of take things on as a full picture instead of like, this one thing happened, so I had a whole bad day, like it, that thing happened, and so this is the whole bad day. It's like having, for lack of a better word, eternal perspective of like the whole story instead of fixating on points.
When most people are asked what they want, they will answer, I want to be happy. But happy takes practice. And that's what the Wholeness Library is all about. So check it out free at thewholenessnetwork.com.